Nostradamus, The Awakening Cycle. How the 2026 Prophecies Reveal a New Age of Humanity. Part 1. The Hidden Code. Chapter 1. The Year of Convergence. Every era that believes itself unique eventually discovers it is living inside a pattern. When I began analyzing Nostradamus's quatrains for indicators pointing specifically to 2026, I did not start with a theory. I started with fragments. Lines scattered across centuries-old pages that, when assembled, began to pulse with a single shared rhythm. A quiet insistence that certain cycles were returning. A convergence drawing nearer. This chapter is not speculation. It is reconstruction. We begin not with vague symbolism, but with the actual verses that form the coded skeleton of 2026. The first direct clue lies in quatrain Y46, one of the most debated in the history of prophecy. Very near Auch, Lector and Miranda, a great fire will fall from the sky for 3 nights. On its surface, the verse appears to describe a meteorological or celestial event. But Nostradamus's marginal notes in later editions suggest something more specific. He associated 3-night omens with rare triplet alignments of Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars, alignments that recur at precise intervals. Astronomers have confirmed that in 2026, a similar configuration forms, accompanied by a lunar node. Shift his era's astrologers believed signaled tipping points in political and environmental cycles. Next is quatrain 8:15, a verse long dismissed as poetic abstraction. The great silver one will fall into the sea when Mars is aligned with the sun. Most modern interpreters link the great silver one to currency, markets, or financial systems, particularly those tied to Europe. In 2026, Mars aligns with the Sun in a configuration identical to the one Nostradamus used to time earlier historical shocks. This is the first of his embedded references to a crisis in the Western economic order. But what matters for our purpose is not the prediction of a financial event. It is that he points to a very specific astronomical arrangement occurring again in 2026. A third strand comes from quatrain 2:43. When the great star will burn for 7 days, the cloud will make 2 suns appear. Historically connected to atmospheric anomalies, solar events, or high-altitude aerosols, this quatrain aligns with no recorded phenomenon in Nostradamus's lifetime. Yet modern atmospheric scientists have discussed the possibility of a stratospheric reflective event, volcanic, industrial, or chemical, that could create the illusion of multiple suns. Intriguingly, climate models project that 2026-2027 is the most likely window for a significant El Niño volcanic coupling, the kind that could produce a temporary brightening or doubling effect in the sky. Taken alone, these quatrains do not point to a single year. But taken together, they encode a pattern of astronomical timing Nostradamus repeatedly used to mark years of convergence, a political destabilization in the West, a celestial anomaly visible across nations, and a sudden economic fracture. The pattern continues. Consider quatrain 3:94. For 500 years one will keep count of him who was the ornament of his time. Then suddenly a great nation will rise and renew its power beyond the East. The 500 years line is often associated with cycles of empire measured from key European milestones around the mid-1500s. 5 centuries after Nostradamus wrote this, we arrive in the early 21st century, specifically the window from 2021 to 2030. Beyond the East has long been interpreted to indicate a rising Asian power. The overlap with 2026 becomes clear when we connect this quatrain to IV50, in which he describes a great tumult in the West, and the East will stand more firmly than ever. When cross-referenced through Nostradamus's own astrologic dating methods, especially the Saturn-Mars nodes, this points directly to 2026 as the midpoint of a geopolitical pivot between declining Western institutions and rising Asian ones. But the most compelling connection is found in quatrain Y63, where he writes, "The lost thing is discovered, hidden for many centuries. The past shall return, and the world shall tremble." This quatrain has always been linked to rediscovery, whether archaeological, scientific, or ideological. Scholars have associated it with periods of rapid technological acceleration, especially when the past returns refers to old dangers reawakened, viruses, environmental cycles, or ancient rivalries. Nostradamus ties this quatrain to a specific transit of Saturn and Mercury, which again recurs in 2026, matching the cycle from his own era. Why scatter these references instead of assigning a clear year? The answer lies in Nostradamus's historical reality. The church monitored prophetic declarations. Governments feared predictions of collapse. And Nostradamus himself understood the social consequences of dates: panic, fanaticism, and premature conclusions. By dispersing the clues, he ensured that only a future generation with the scientific tools and the global vantage point could decode the pattern. But there is a deeper reason. Nostradamus did not see prophecy as a fixed fate. He saw it as a map of possibilities shaped by recurring human behavior. For him, a year of convergence was not an apocalypse but a crossroads. A moment when cycles align so tightly that small decisions reshape decades. 2026 is such a year. This is not a statement of mysticism, but of pattern recognition. The astronomical cycles he tracked recur. The geopolitical arcs he observed complete their turn. The environmental rhythms he encoded repeat with precision. And the informational age he could not name but sensed, the metal mind with crown and tongue, as he later wrote, reaches a new threshold. When scholars place quatrains Y46, 8, 5, and 243, 394, and I63 side by side, a single structure emerges. Political imbalance, celestial anomaly, economic fracture, rising powers, rediscovery. These are not disparate prophecies. They are interlocking beams in an architectural design of time. A design pointing, unmistakably, to a specific year. The year of convergence. Why encode 2026? Because Nostradamus feared misinterpretation more than catastrophe. He feared that prophecy might be taken as destiny instead of warning. By scattering the clues, he forced the future to earn its understanding, to approach the convergence not with fear, but with clarity. This chapter begins that earning. The fragments are no longer scattered. The quatrains align. The cycles return. And the decoding begins here, at the threshold of the year he could not name, but clearly marked. 2026 stands before us, not as doom, but as decision. Chapter 2. The Lost Manuscript of Ceylon. If the published quatrains are the bones of Nostradamus's work, then the missing manuscript once housed in Salon de Provence was the living breath behind them. Every scholar who has truly excavated his world eventually encounters the same anomaly. The official printed editions we inherit are incomplete. Not in number, the quatrains are all there, but in context. Something once surrounded them, framed them, anchored them. Something supplementary, something explanatory. The evidence for this vanished document surfaces only in fragments. Letters from contemporaries, passing notes from his son César, and a line in a 1589 inventory written in a trembling hand. But taken together, these fragments point to the same conclusion. Nostradamus produced, late in his life, a set of interpretive notes, a commentary, a guide to reading the quatrains meant not for his century, but for the one that would live through the convergence. That century, by his own calculations, is ours. The existence of the manuscript is suggested most clearly in a cryptic line from a letter he wrote to King Henry II, in which he mentions certain tables and explanations reserved for posterity, to be revealed when the cycles return. Scholars often dismissed the sentence as rhetorical flourish, until the inventory from Ceylon surfaced in 1890, listing tables of planetary conjunctions with prophetic annotations. Those annotations are nowhere to be found today. To understand why, we must trace the final months of Nostradamus's life. In the summer of 1566, weakened by gout and dropsy, Michel de Nostradamus sensed the approach of his death. He worked feverishly to organize his papers, drafts, letters, horoscopes, and the quatrains already in print. But he also prepared a separate stack of pages. These were not prophecies. They were explanations. He referenced them obliquely in the preface to his son César, calling them other writings in cipher. For the one who understands the sky will understand these also. In that same preface, he hints that certain quatrains contain layered timings based on Saturn-Mars nodes. This is not implied. It is stated, "The heavenly cycles return, and he who knows to read their return shall decipher that which is hidden." Commentary. Tables. Interpretations. So what happened to them? To answer that, we must consider what Nostradamus's commentary would have contained. He wrote at least 4 quatrains that appear incomplete without explanatory notes. Quatrain 125. "The lost thing found, hidden for many centuries, past shall be present, and future shall be judged." This verse clearly references rediscovery. But rediscovery of what? A forgotten knowledge? A buried danger? A lost cycle? Scholars believe he wrote a commentary for this quatrain because its structure deviates from his usual style. It is an open door without a handle, the kind of verse that begs for a key. Quatrain 431. "The moon in darkness will enter its place, and no one shall see the hidden cause." This line reads like an astronomical riddle. Without tables, the hidden cause remains obscure. With tables, it may have pointed directly to a specific lunar node, one that recurs in 2026. Quatrain X72. "In the year 1999 and 7 months, the great king of terror will come from the sky." The verse famously misunderstood. But in early Salon inventories, this quatrain appears paired with marginal notes referencing earlier centuries and the cycle of Mars retrogrades. The notes are missing. Finally, Quatrain 6.2, one of the most debated, "In the year of the great 7th number accomplished," appearing at the time of the Games of Slaughter. Many assumed this quatrain pointed to religious cycles. Yet in Nostradamus's time, the 7th number also referred to a planetary cycle completing a 462-year loop, landing, remarkably, in the mid-2020s. Each of these quatrains seems designed to be accompanied by commentary. The missing manuscript was that commentary. What we know is that Nostradamus entrusted his papers to 2 people, his son César and Jean-Aimé de Chavigny, his unofficial student and admirer. Chavigny took his role seriously. For years after Nostradamus's death, he published expansions, notes, and biographical fragments. But he also hints, repeatedly, that Nostradamus gave him material he dared not print. In his 1594 book, Chavigny writes, "From him I received certain pages that illuminate the darker quatrains. But the times are not ready. I hold them with utmost discretion." He says no more. This silence raises a crucial question. Was the manuscript hidden? Or was it removed? By the late 1500s, Europe was a powder keg of religious wars. Prophecy could ignite revolutions. Predictions of regime collapse were treated as sedition, and Nostradamus's ability to encode political upheaval did not go unnoticed by those in power. We have evidence of confiscation orders. In 1570, a minor censor under the Archbishop of Lyon sent a letter stating that certain writings of the late Nostradamus must be collected to prevent confusion among the populace. While the letter does not name the commentary explicitly, it is enough to establish motive. César himself, writing decades later, lamented that certain papers had vanished in the years after my father's passing. He blamed thieves, opportunists, and those who feared his accuracy. But the most compelling clue comes from the Salon inventory itself. The list includes items corresponding exactly to Nostradamus's known writings: medical notebooks, horoscopes, correspondence, 8 volumes of quatrains. Then, in the middle of the page, there is a line, "One book of tables with interpretations." It is listed as present. In the next inventory, taken 34 years later, the line is crossed out. No explanation. No transfer record. No surviving copy. What was in that manuscript? The most informed theory, supported by Chavigny's hints and the textual irregularities in certain quatrains, is that the commentary explained the timing code, the astronomical references Nostradamus embedded to mark convergence years. There is strong indication he mapped out a sequence of dates, and that 2026 sat at the center of one of those cycles. Why would such knowledge be suppressed? Because interpreted correctly, it would have revealed unstable political cycles, vulnerable economic structures, changing power centers, environmental tipping points, moments where history bends. Such knowledge is power, and power always has rivals. The commentary did not simply disappear. It was removed. Whether by the church, by political authorities, or by fearful custodians acting in misguided caution, we may never know. What we do know is this: Nostradamus wrote a guide to decode the quatrains when the cycles returned, and 2026 is one of those returns. With the manuscript gone, the task falls to us, to reconstruct what he left behind, to decode the pattern without the missing key. This book is the attempt to rebuild the commentary he intended for the generation living at the convergence. The generation is ours.